Yo, what's up, everybody? Yeah, I've been having some problems this morning. I don't know what's going on. It's like some Cloudflare issue because certain things are being blocked for God knows what reason. So hopefully we can figure that out later. But thankfully, none of this stuff's being messed up. Have y'all ever had that issue with ChatGPT or just like any Cloudflare like verification thing, or is it just me? Seems like it's pretty common, but I've never heard anybody. Yeah, X2, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I need to figure out what the hell is going on with that. Because all of a sudden, like I was spending a lot of time on ChatGPT yesterday. Because I'm in the process of building a WMG Trading journal for my private group. And I spent hours and it was like, seemed like it was working my computer pretty hard. And we're just going over and over and over trying to get it to get the code right. And I turned it on today and anything related to Cloudflare is just not working. So I'm like, what's going on? Like it worked for hours yesterday. So yeah, I don't know. I think my Forex factory is working. Is it? No. Why is it happening? Forex factory was working earlier. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with that. That's strange. X isn't working either, huh? No, X works. X works for me. I'm not too sure. It was literally just Forex Factor was literally just I just had it up. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with that. I don't know how to fix it. Um, yeah, well, if any of you guys have had this happen, definitely send me some DMs about it. I don't even think I could load Apex either. Yeah, that's very strange. It's weird because everything was working yesterday. So I don't really know what happened from yesterday to today. It's kind of weird. Um, well, I guess because I saw we don't have any news today. We have low impact. Yeah, I don't know what is going on with that. I don't know. So Joan, you've had that happen to you before too? But if anybody knows how to fix the Cloudflare issue, the challenges.cloudflare, damn, so it's happening to you too? Like in the same time? I don't know why is it doing that? My phone's working. I don't know. Mind you, I'm not like computer savvy. Okay. So I don't know. Might be a global problem. Okay. Hopefully it's not an attack on Cloudflare. Dang, okay, I'm glad Forex Factory not working. Okay, yeah, so it's with everybody. Thank God. I was sitting here thinking, oh, great, here we go. Another tech issue. I always have tech issues and I gotta figure it out somehow. And it takes a while. But luckily, this is not being messed up. I'm just kind of skeptical, like what's happening right now. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's having this issue, but man, that's freaking annoying. Can I get on Discord? Okay, so I guess I'll go on Forex Factory on my phone. No, now I'm having a Cloudflare issue on my phone too. Why is that happening? So yeah, at least I know. Uh-oh. Things are refreshing now. Oh god. So is it keeping me logged into my broker? Yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's working. Damn, so it might be a global problem. Yeah. It seems like it's a global problem. Because now we're all having that issue. What's that other news site? Those of you in my private group, do y'all remember what that news site was that Nico talked about? I think I saved it. Maybe we could try that one. Let's see, where is it at? Financial juice. Oh, yeah, there it is. Cloudflare is experiencing a global outage that is affecting numerous websites, services, including X, ChatGPT, Forex Factory, and many others. The issue is causing widespread 500 errors, impacting Cloudflare's dashboard and API. The company is actively working to fix the problem, and services are beginning to recover, though customers are still seeing the high rate of error. The outage is affecting services worldwide. See, I thought something was wrong with my computer. I was all literally digging on ChatGPT on my phone because I could get onto it. And it was trying to walk me through things. Yeah, that's major symptoms. You're seeing Wi-Fi 500 Cloudflare's own dashboard APIs are also failing, making it difficult to get up-to-date minute status. Cloudflare has stated that a spike in unusual traffic to one of its services triggered the issue. Hope it's not an attack on them. You know, there's threats of cyber attacks and all that as of recent. So we got to be very careful. Because if something does announce that there's an attack, it could end up being pretty intense. You know, the markets may have an effect to that. God, thank goodness I hopped on here. I was thinking like, man, I might not be able to get on because what if something goes wrong? But luckily I did, so I could see that all of you guys are being affected by it. Well, that sucks, right? So let me actually, okay, so at least we know that. So I was literally going in trying to fix a bunch of crap on my computer, which I have no idea how to do. So thankfully I don't have to do it. And well, I guess we'll just wait. Let's go look at this other one. Damn, even the financial juice place is messed up too. The cloud fares, man, like we can't. Luckily, I kind of observed. I should have taken a screenshot of the news. The 1 week that I don't take a screenshot. If any of you guys took a screenshot though, definitely let me see it. Or if you guys are in my private group and you took a screenshot of it, maybe not because none of us expected this to happen. Oh yeah, Maddie, you got it too. So yeah, there's no real news until 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today. Or there was a red folder at 12 a.m. Like midnight or something, and it's already passed. So we have low impact news events scattered around from 7, I think it was 7, 8:30, and around 9, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have one or a couple later in the PM session. But yeah, sorry about that. Well, why the hell am I sorry, right? The whole world's getting screwed by this right now. But luckily, TradingView is available. So hopefully it could stay that way. But yeah, let's take a look at what we got going on. We know that something's going down though, so automatically knowing that there's a massive outage in a very important tool that's affecting many companies, we definitely want to be very cautious. Okay, so with that being said, given the fact that that's happening, our risk is going to be very low. I'm going to use maybe 2 micro contracts. I'm not even going to try to do too much. Like, I don't think there's any real necessary reason for us to push too hard. It's NFP week on top of that. So, it just kind of is what it is when there's stuff happening in the world that could potentially affect us. I'm surprised that it's not affecting us right now in the markets, because Cloudflare is used on many companies. It's just like how Amazon Web Services, when they went down, many companies were affected. So now we got another incident. So it's kind of nerve-wracking to see that there's so much crap happening to these web services and security services in terms of cyber issues, because that may be, someone testing attacks on certain things to see what it affects. And I mean, you can imagine whoever's did the tests that have caused these things, if they are tests, they've got a good idea of how bad the impact's going to be. So we're in very volatile times. Let me fix this real quick. So, stupid thing keeps sliding. Oh. So yeah, with that being said, get into the charts. Pretty much everything that we've identified has basically came to fruition. I said this shift below, or change in state delivery below this order block, then this low being taken, us respecting this order block, would continue to push price to the downside. Let me ask you this. What I said on Sunday about this high being taken and then that being the counterparty to go lower, did that work out? Right? Like, this stuff's very repetitive, and then what did it target? It targeted the low, weekly low, just like it did last week. So all of this is stating that order flow is bearish at the moment, right? So we're going to keep pushing in that direction. It is a fast start to the week, so of course there's always something skeptical about that, right? Generally, it likes to pull back against this fast kind of movement. But we may see a pretty heavy downside impact now because of the Cloudflare, because that's shutting down businesses. So the income for those businesses is going to go down. So we're going to start seeing headlines, because obviously this just happened, right? Because I was all over everything yesterday. I was doing a lot of work on ChatGPT, trying to make a journal, back testing, doing a bunch of things. So none of this was happening. I literally had Forex Factory up this morning, but now it's not working, right? So try one more time. Yeah, no, it's still down. So yeah, at least we know that it's not our computers, because that's what I was really concerned about. But yeah, this is potentially going to have an impact. It can only have a negative impact, you know, if it's shutting businesses down, you know. So it's just another reason to expect that we may continue to drop. We have 5 minutes till the open. If we go up here. So yeah, again, just a reminder, everything that we've talked about has basically came to fruition, right? We go to bonds and yields. So we got the bonds holding at this low. I don't think they're going to leave that. We'll see. We have a monthly bullish order block that it's bouncing from, so it's kind of having a hard time getting through there. But we've got relative equal lows down there. We got this weekly fair value gap, right? This big weekly fair value gap. It's kind of just working that range a little bit. And again, I said that if we take this low, that may be something that ends up pushing us further lower, right? And Joan, I think that the payment issue, by the way, might be getting caused by this, right? The Cloudflare issue that's going on. Because I'm sure they use it. Let me see. Let me go to WAP and see. No, WAP works. See, I don't know. Maybe Stripe uses it. I wouldn't be surprised if Stripe uses it. But yeah, we'll look into it a little bit later. Yeah, we'll figure it out, right? But yeah, so again, as far as what we're trying to see, you know, we've got to kind of observe how this is going to hold for the yields. Is it going to hold in here? We're kind of sideways. It is declining. That's bearish for the dollar. If this keeps going higher, obviously that's bullish for the indices, bearish for the dollar. The dollar's kind of stuck. Expectations have to be obviously managed because it's NFP. And this is going to be a very impactful NFP week because we're off the shutdown, you know. So if news comes out that hasn't been talked about really for almost 2 months, right? And all of a sudden this negative news comes in, like in a big package, right? Like all at once. You know, we may have a pretty negative impact on the stock market, you know, and the dollar. So it's going to be very, very important that we see what happens for this NFP week. But nonetheless, structurally, as of right now, prices basically returned back into this. We have SMT at the lows. This is a bullish breaker, right? It's also an order block. So, daily order block. 3-day order block, right? And a daily and a 2-day order block. So it's kind of resting inside of that. We've broken down below this low, came up, and then broke down below that again, right? Without taking out the high. We also had SMT up there. So, you know, we'll see kind of what it wants to do here. As long as it stays below this daily fair value gap, I'm pretty confident that we'll keep going lower. We have a low, high, lower, low. So this is a breaker in here. It's also a high, low failure swing that broke down below that. So this down candle could act as a mitigation block. If it went up above like this, right, this down candle becomes a bearish breaker. So that's a difference between mitigation blocks and breakers. But we're kind of resting inside that area. So we're going to have to wait and see what the reaction is going to be from there. We have a daily inversion fair value gap here too. So we're trapped between a bearish fair value gap and a daily inversion fair value gap. Right? Has had a pretty difficult time getting deep into this fair value gap because we already have some work done here previously. So you can kind of see when price action's overlapping, Generally, we like to see it like a wick through it. Things further away sometimes don't really work for holding price, but sometimes they do. At least from my studies, I haven't seen them work out all the time, or in that context, right? Acting as a balanced price range. Seems like right now though it's holding it pretty good. We do have equal highs up here, but this is a 3-day bearish order block, or a 3-day bearish fair value gap, and we have a daily bullish fair value gap here as well, and we're trapped. You could see how it's just being held for the currencies, right? So we got these down candles. It's an order block on the weekly chart. So as long as that stays intact, and as long as we stay above this weekly fair value gap, we have no real reason to try to target sell side, and this should end up potentially continuing to go to the buy side. And if the yields keep going up, that's going to drag this higher too. We do see that the yields had a pretty solid dump off here. Is it going to be short-lived? We'll see if it breaks down below this low. We have an order block here. We would just simply wait for another order block to form and then see that get taken out as a secondary change in state of delivery, if we want to be very conservative and really wait and not try to get ahead of the show, and so we can be more confident that order flow has been confirmed to not be bullish anymore, right? And then of course we have the fair value gap in here too. What the hell's happening? Yeah, so we'll keep that in mind and kind of watch what price does. We have an order block here. If it respects the 50% of that and runs higher, it's going to further confirm that we're going to keep pushing to the buy side in this. And this all was just a external raid to internal range liquidity target to then continue to go higher. We have a gap up here, bunch of previous days highs up here. So the last 4 days have not been targeted. So if we do respond aggressively from here and we hold this order block, those will be my initial targets. And then of course we have the gap up here, we have the high, we have the other gap here. So yeah, that's going to be kind of how we would operate with that. And we have a weekly wick here too. Okay, so these are quadrants. Notice how it stopped at the 50% of the wick. Go to the weekly chart, you can kind of see that here from this high to that low of the wick, and it's respecting that plus a fair value gap plus an order block. So we have 3 significant PD arrays right there. Top steps not allowing for stops to be put in. Oh man, that's kind of worrying. Well, I'm using Trade-Evate, so that's the thing. If something goes wrong with Top Step's platform, unfortunately, there's no other options. So yeah, now in terms of what we could potentially see here, we completed this market maker sell model I talked about yesterday with my private group. We dropped lower, right? We were looking for a second stage distribution here. You guys tell me in the chat for my private group when we talked about this, did it deliver how a second stage distribution delivers with speed? And did the market maker sell model we talked about play out? Did this area from the second stage distribution low, basically of the candle, the low of the candle here, the body of it, did the whole upper portion act as a balanced price range? From what I could see, it definitely did. Right? And again, we were ahead of this. I didn't catch anything yesterday. I didn't like how the conditions were. We called the narrative correct, though. Sometimes that's going to be the case. But yeah. So we'll see what happens with this. If DXY is going to keep going higher, or the yields are going to keep going higher, which I'm assuming they probably will, we may end up seeing this continue to decline. It has rapidly repriced down to the low here. And Friday's low and Friday's high have been used. Right, so you can kind of see Friday's low, Friday's high. Counterparty liquidity at first, and then we declined aggressively. So stops up here were paired with profit taking down here for this price swing. So we'll see what happens with this as well. Like if we break above this high here, we may be able to look at this as a potential market maker buy model framework. So sell model to buy model, right? This retracement higher to go lower, that was a sell model, and a failed market maker buy model. This little move here, lower, higher, if we go to like the 5-second chart, this was probably a drop lower to go higher above this high, creating a market maker buy model. Within this fractal retracement here, that was also within this larger price swing. So you can start to see the fractal nature of market maker buy and sell models. But again, if DXY does keep going higher here, it's an absolute shit show. It's an absolute mess. Okay, we did return to the 50% right here. 75% chance that type of thing takes place. But we've pretty much done a lot of work down here. We got relative equal lows. It's also London's low. So London's low is here. And we have London's high up there. Okay, so those are our two main liquidity pools. It's also previous day's low here too, because this wasn't quite outside of the current day. So that could be looked at as London's low, previous day's low. It's kind of overlapped. So again, if we're going to go lower, that's our target. This is pretty significant right here. Wicked all the way up, literally still respecting the market maker sell model, lower portion, like lower 25% as the balanced price range that a market maker buy and sell model are when they're complete. So we'll see if this continues. If it doesn't and it gets up above this, that's why it's reasonable to start anticipating this as a potential market maker buy model. Maybe it stays in consolidation, goes sell model, buy model, sell model, buy model, because that's what consolidations are generally doing if you observe from this perspective. So, very good piece of information there. But yeah, so with what we see so far, if we go, let me make sure, okay, my broker is keeping me in. Hopefully we could place stops. That's why another reason why our risk needs to be very low if we execute anything. But yeah, so I'm gonna actually remove this. I'll keep this up for reference. We got fair value gap down here. Could keep tabs on. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna wait for a macro, which is why I'm not too concerned with the lower time frame, if you guys are wondering, especially if you're new here. It's not that I'm not looking for an opportunity. We have very strict rules, and when conditions are the way they are, we definitely got to make sure we're following those rules, and part of that has to do with timing. Right, so yeah, if we go to the lower time frames to kind of get a feel for what's happening here. If the dollar declines, right, if we do see this decline in here, we may see London's high get taken out, right? I think it has kind of shown the possibility here. I don't like that we left equal lows there. If we go down, let's see if we have any SMT. Yeah, so we do got bullish SMT, so that's pretty telling. So we do got to run up above the high. We got an order block, sell stop raid, SMT. Then again, we got London's high up here. So yeah, we will see how this is going to hold in here. We got run on stops. Go to the 30-second chart, we see a fair value gap. See a breaker. So I can say that if it breaks down below the 50% of this structure in here, it's going to blow these equal lows out, and we may look to target previous day's low. So because it's been so bearish, the overall narrative seems like it's changing to bearishness, given the higher time frame because of all this decline. We're not going to try to force buys. I don't like the fact that it was so fast, because that may trigger in a rejection, and then maybe tomorrow it decides to continue dropping lower, right? So that's a risk, and it's NFP week, so we could see a lot of sporadic setup or trap style delivery, and you can imagine that that is a trap, right? It's a pretty common thing that they do when you have a fast previous session, fast previous day. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So I wouldn't be very surprised if we do come up here and take this. We do have a breaker here too if it does get up there. And again, if it was to get up beyond this and break above this high, we may be seeing a market maker buy model. So I'm not going to assume that's the case. I'm going to try to still continue to favor trying to see sell side. We do have this SMT here. So depending on what DXY does, we're going to have to observe, whether it wants to continue going lower, which is what I support, or if we're going to have to adjust and then try to target London high. But for now, let's try to see if we could stick to the higher time frame delivery that's taking place. But yeah, you could see the DXY is an absolute mess. So, and it's NFP, and there's Cloudflare issues taking down different companies. So we may see it continue to drop. So yeah, let's see how we treat this fair value gap here. The only way I'll look to potentially position a buy in this instance is if we can get price to get back above this fair value gap here. So we've got this fair value gap too. So let's see if we can't blow out these equal lows here. Again, we're kind of in between two different things. We're approaching the macro, so we got 4 minutes until we hit the macro. Charts look nice. Oh, nice. I appreciate you, Mike. Just showing the most important things. Some obviously indicators that I try to get you guys to have so you could train your eye. But yeah, that's pretty much all they are. Any indicator you see, it's just to train your eye. So let's see if we can't blow this low out here in low resistance fashion and see if we can't get below the lows and get DXY to continue going to the buy side. Because we've been seeing just continuous downside. We've got to run above the high, and now price is just continuing to dump. Right? So there is a nice delivery in there. So if this happened inside the macro, this is something I would have executed. Right when price got down below this order block, I would have executed right there. Right, but this right here, you can see it as a YouTube model. Run on stops, shift in market structure now. We're also going to have a bearish breaker here. Okay. So we got some levels down there. Let me refresh some stuff. Oh, thank goodness the broker's working. Oh god, I have that stupid gap on there. Trading view glitch. There we go. So let's see what this macro brings us. This was definitely an opportunity to consider. We would like to see us go lower. But even if nothing felt comfortable in here, a little uneasy to try to execute this so early before one of the rules, which is the macros, because of all the stuff we've talked about that's been basically taking place, right? Nice. Okay, yeah, so we got news. 12 p.m. Is that Eastern time or Pacific time? What did it change? There was a... Okay. Yeah. Very interesting stuff that's happening with all this Cloudflare nonsense. But yeah, so let's watch and see what the response is here. This low to that high should act as a balanced price range. So again, we're looking for the lows down here. This is my target. We do got highs up here now, equal highs. I can say that if we get up above this candle, that'll invert the breaker, and this will be then used as support to try to target London high. Again, but for now, we're going to be trying to see if we can't get price to come down here. There was SMT here. Whoops. There was SMT here. I don't believe there's SMT anymore. Yeah, it looks like it... Yeah, I guess there's still SMT. So yeah, let's see what happens with this. All right, so now we're getting pretty aggressive repricing. So we got to watch the, you know, the PD array relationships, see what happens. And if we start to see that price gets above these levels up here, you know, we'll be able to have flexibility. Given the fact that London was so fast, I mean, we're coming off of some craziness, right? Very aggressive price delivery, pushing, well, London ran higher. So, you know, it's just the previous day that was pretty fast. So yeah, this is a nice response to the 50% of the breaker. Are we outside of that yet? No. So is it invalid yet? No. We're inside the macro now. 6:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So let's see what this chooses to do in here. Nice delivery. Beautiful delivery. So yeah, the breaker's operating pretty nicely. And that's all I need. See, I gave you guys that breaker. If you trust the breaker, there was your signal. You know, it's totally up to you. Obviously, if it didn't make sense to you or wasn't something you were comfortable with, don't beat yourself up. But we literally just seen this work out. And none of the invalidation levels got breached for 94 points. Damn, that was fast. I didn't even realize it was that much that fast. Here, I will show the execution proof. I don't know why it's not populating on this chart. That's all right. $94 points. Was definitely not a 40-point stop. It was 30-point stop. So 3-1, not too bad. Right inside the 645 macro. Trade of 8, right? And I'm with Apex. So yeah. So hopefully you guys got to participate. Again, this ain't financial advice, and you should be looking at things from a demo account, right? Legal purposes. But you know, you guys make your own decisions. I give you guys advice and guidance, and you decide what to do with it. But that was a pretty good opportunity if I do say so myself. And we saw it before it happened. I talked about if it was to invalidate the breaker, it would then invert. Otherwise, our target's down here, and we just beautifully saw that play out. And that's 100 points, right? This right here should hold too. Reattempt to the breaker. The target down here is still not off, so secondary opportunity was offered there inside the order block, which was inside the breaker. If we zoom up a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a propulsion block. We do have an order block, which is also a breaker, and then we have this order block aiming for this low down there. Okay. So let me know in the chat, does everything make sense? Was anyone able to see this and trust this as we were talking about it? What a run. You know, target's been secured. So let me know in the chat. Pretty solid banger if you ask me. Yeah, what a move. I entered a little bit late in here too. It was running up like that. I'm like, I was going to enter here at the midpoint or just simply at the low right there. But my stop wouldn't have made sense if I would have done that. For me personally, with the 3 contracts that I wanted to use. You know, some people have like criticisms about trading micros as well. And it's like, dude, if you could catch moves like this and you're consistent, like we prove live on a regular basis, I mean, you can easily pull in $300 to $500 a day with 3 to 4 contracts. You don't need a E-mini to do well. Is $300 to $500 a day not enough? If it is not enough, you're not in the right industry, because your expectations are insane and they're not reality. You see social media, but it's not reality for most people, you know, especially new traders. But yeah, it is what it is. So don't be thinking negatively about micros. It makes it so you have a larger ability to take partials, which I probably should have did here. I mean, 94 points is pretty nice. So that's more than enough. We only look for 20 to 30 points. If we get more, that's great. But you know, you guys have seen, if you've been here for a while, you see what 20 to 30 points does. The first standard deviation or projection has been taken. It's also below the low there, so that was beautiful. Our narrative to be continuing to go bearish unless we were to get back above this fair value gap, or to, you know, unless we got above this breaker. Analysis has been completely on point, right? The bonds and yields are definitely playing games. So it's just one of those times where you got to kind of discount it a little bit, put it to the side. The DXY is kind of stuck. Kind of a sloppy mess. We have the currencies playing games too, especially the GBP. Coming off of a huge run, retracement into this. And then we got the euro coming back to this. So we'll see if that wants to hold or not. If DXY rallies, this is not going to hold. It's going to tank down, get below this. So that would further confirm a longer downturn. If DXY goes higher too. I mean, this was gorgeous. This was classic. Right? Consolidation or accumulation, manipulation, distribution targeting this low from London. So yeah. Let me know in the chat if everything that we've talked about leading up to the execution at that breaker that I talked about before the fact, and the target, just the overall framework. Does everything make sense? If you guys have any questions, now would be a great time to ask, because I mean, we just smashed it, right? And it offered a secondary execution, which I said was probably going to play out. And even if you execute it a little bit late, you're not going to be perfect. So, don't take things away. If you see an order block form and it's still bearish and a target hasn't been met, or a fair value gap, and it fits your rules. Like, for example, we have a swing high here, right? Would we not say that that's a run on stops? And then a shift in market structure. Change in state of delivery also, because it's an order block. If you move up to the 1 minute, order block. Man, it's one of those days I should have freaking taken partials. But man, it's the mindset that we all have, right? Right? We get in even 100 points. If you see it run 200 points, I mean, you're going to still think, damn, I left some on the table. But, we're not here to impress the world or our family or anybody else with the amount of target we take down. We're here to consistently pull in money to live a good life. And to live a good life, it doesn't require you to get every single dollar that's offered to you. Take what you feel comfortable with, something that's reasonable, and go to the sideline. But will we not sit here and be able to say that this is a run on stops with the back end framework supporting the downturn? Run on stops, larger PD array being the order block, being the breaker. Okay. Shift in market structure, and then the fair value gap. Right? If you have two fair value gaps, right, you want to make sure that you put your stop above the second one, the highest one, right, the candle, right? And then we got a redelivery, right? So if you think of AMD, accumulation, manipulation, distribution, there's accumulation in here, manipulation, distribution, and then this here is also redelivery, right? Or redistribution. So AMD is happening all over the place, right? Even on these little itty bitty fractals. So you always want to think about that. When a candle's forming, you want to think power 3. Because watch, if we go to like the 5-minute chart, or actually, let's go to the 5-minute, let's go to the 6 o'clock hour. Would you not be able to sit here and say that from this 6 o'clock hour for this 1 hour candle, we have accumulation, manipulation, distribution for this hour, right? This hour's candle in here, right? We opened here at 6, accumulate a little bit, manipulated with the wick to reach, some premium arrays, and then we distributed. And so when that happens, you also want to pay attention to the redelivery back into, the AMD that just delivered, and then we got redistribution, right? So that idea happens on the hourly chart, on the hourly delivery, the hourly ranges. A lot of people don't understand the power of Power 3, market maker models, and all these different things. People think that once they learn it or get the gist of it, let's just move on and try to find some more advanced topics because I need more advanced things. When in reality, when you get wisdom in trading and experience, you're going to want to do things in a simplistic manner. Otherwise you're going to have analysis paralysis, and you're going to have problems, unnecessary problems that you don't need, right? By overcomplicating everything. Yeah, so if we go to the 30-second chart, we see that. And let's move around and see if we can find it happening again. On this 15-second chart, with the larger view, the price is going to go lower. Right? We have order block here at this low. Right? would we not be able to say that this is a stop hunt above a swing high with the intention and context that we expect it to drop still and target a low, right? Or some other deeper target, right? You don't just go in there just doing this randomly. Like, you have to have a framework, a target where you're aiming at. But are we not able to come in here and say that this is a fractal high that was swept, so buy side's taken? Shift in market structure, right? Fair value gap. Will we not be able to say that this is also a stop hunt within the same context that price is going to go lower? Shift in market structure, fair value gap. Will we not be able to say that this is a stop hunt? And this is a shift in market structure. And this is a fair value gap that we could have executed. A lot more risky as we get deeper in like this, but it is what it is. Will we not be... So this is an example where we can't say... I guess kinda. It's really tiny, but more high risk. But will we not be able to say this is a stop hunt? Shift in market structure, fair value gap in here. Who knows if this is going to deliver? It's already kind of went pretty deep. DXY is tanking, so this may be just running lower, and we'll maybe get a response. But the logic, the concept, the counter trend, or continuation mindset, how you can go in there and find numerous opportunities if you have the context correct and you have a target and you have an idea where price is headed and you're confident in it. Are you guys able to see the power in what I've just shown you here? Because most people think that the YouTube model or any other models form once, and that's it. If they see one opportunity, they can't get the best of the best, so they don't take a trade. And they sit there and think they missed something. This is also a breaker, right? So this was the larger breaker in here, right? So I showed you the YouTube model perspective, but now we could look at the breaker, right? Low, high, lower, low, right? You could probably say the same thing about this too here. Look, down close candle. So we get a low, high, lower, low. So it's also a breaker, right? Same thing here. Low, high, lower, low. See, the same thing's happening in here too. If we go to the 1 minute chart or the 1 second chart, it's happening in there as well. Again, all of this is inside of this huge decline that we've seen. When we talked about the Cloudflare issue, I said that could be a reason why this tanks aggressively. I mean, it's both of these assets are tanking, all of the indices. So with that Cloudflare news, it actually gave us somewhat of an edge of confidence that we were going to in fact see things short because business is being disrupted right now. The services and certain things aren't working. Right? So again, all throughout here, just count how many opportunities based on the logic I've just shared with you. Just count how many opportunities in here. And most people that are really new, right, they look at this and they think, oh, okay, well, it's easy to see because it's already been printing. We've been saying this as price is printing, though, right? There's no cherry picking option here because this happens all the time. Go do your back testing and test this theory. There's one initial setup because it's framed off of a higher time frame context, higher time frame PD array, news events, so on and so forth. So the best of the best move that starts a large move is rooted in a higher time frame framework. But as you are trading within the price leg that's created from that higher time frame framework, higher time frame PD array, like the actual move of the day, on a smaller scale, if you miss the best of the best move, if you have a reasonable idea of where the target's going to be, you can use your model and go in there and find different opportunities to take a trade on. Another thing I want to point out, say we can actually use this here. So we just talked about the YouTube model and breakers in this price leg, and how many of those frameworks and setups took place as price was printing within the narrative that we called before the fact. All right. So if we look at this, those of you in my private group, what do you see with this yellow box? Right? What do you see with that yellow box? So the best of the best move was up here. What model do you guys see? Those of you that are in my private group, what model do you see? Right? We see the razor model taking place. All the components are there, right? So think about it. How many opportunities are here if you see things this way? If you go in and start backtesting with this stuff in mind, staying in line with the higher time frame, framing the main move for the day of the daily range from a higher time frame level, could be an order block on the 1 hour, could be a daily order block, could be a fair value gap on the higher time frame that we trade into, right? And if we look, we have 650 macro, like I said, started here and offered this opportunity, which again, we engaged using the breaker logic. But all these different components in here are also ways that you can consider pyramiding. So what I've just described to you shows you just how many opportunities are in the market, how you can go about finding those opportunities as long as you have the narrative down and kind of know where it's headed context-wise. It not only shows you those opportunities, 3 different models, breakers, the YouTube model, and the flagship model for my private group. But you can also now look at this from the perspective of learning how to pyramid your trades and add to a position. Right? So yeah, give me a 1 in the chat if that makes sense to you guys. It's surprising that people haven't stuck around today. Like I said, the stuff that I literally just did it right in front of people. Like what happened, framed it out, talking about this. I mean, it's pretty interesting how. Well, I mean, I guess it's normal because the failure rate in this industry is pretty massive, and attention spans are like the size of a gnat, so it's unfortunate. But yeah, so okay, George said yeah, Jones said yeah, okay. So yeah, it's very powerful stuff in here. I did a backtesting video. Those of you in my private group, my one-on-one students, definitely go check that archive. I believe I posted it in there, in this month's folder. So definitely go look at that if you have had some trouble backtesting. This is another piece to that lesson, though, right? With how to backtest, how to go in there and backtest. This is a concept you can test out. Remember, we talked about all the order blocks that you see that lead to a move within a higher time frame narrative. Like you want to pick a bearish segment in price and a bullish segment in price. And then you want to go in there and look at all the different order blocks and then go look at the fair value gaps and then look at them together as price is printing so you can get a feel for how price behaves around this stuff. It's like when you get with a girl, right? And you get with this girl and you want to learn all about her. Or if you have a new friend, and you're hanging out with them, you're trying to learn everything about them, right? Well, it's the same with this. Each PD array is your friend. So in order for you to trust it, same with each model, right? So in order for you to trust these things, you got to go in and spend time with it. You got to dig in and look at how does it behave? Just like how we observe people and their mannerisms, right? Like what kind of tendencies do they have? Maybe they got an eye twitch, right? Maybe, there's details that you're going to have to stick around and spend time with that person to discover. It's the same with this. The characteristics of each PD array have certain quirky behaviors, right? And like 50% of those, or of any of the PD arrays, we don't want to see it get breached. and you can kind of see how it treats it. So eventually you get comfortable with, okay, well, this is a order block, or this is a, a breaker model, or this is a, razor model, or this is a, razor's the flagship of my private group, or maybe it's, this or that model. You go in there and study how it delivers, right? Study the characteristics, and then look at the 50%, look at the, the four quadrants, right? How does a 25% level generally react? How does a 75% react? If we get beyond the 50%, what happens to the PD array? What happens to the idea? Does it get overtaken? What happens when it gets overtaken? Does price trade back into it as an inversion? Right? How does that look? How does price behave when these certain circumstances unfold? Right? And I mean, just thinking about it from this perspective, I'm sure you guys can now start to identify okay, that is how I personally, and ICT and all the other people you see that seem like they trust what it is that they do, that's how they got to the trust factor. Same with your bias and narrative process, which I teach every Sunday how to do. At least from a higher time frame view. It's, pretty universal. You can, go down to a lower time frame and use a lot of the same elements. But again, you got to spend time doing it. You got to spend time on calls like this, as long as the people that you're listening to know what they're talking about and prove it like I do. Right? I do it every week. In my private group, I do it every day. They see this type of thing happening all the time. And so you can, by default, success will come, I should say experience will come, and then you'll kind of build good habits, build perspectives and mindset that you're supposed to have. And then experience will give you that trust, knowing what to look for, right? Studying the things that you're told to study, watching ICT's videos with a lot of the stuff that you learn here in mind. Because a lot of stuff that I speak on is from my experience, using or learning about the same stuff that you guys all have access to, except, I just had a little bit extra, given, my status with ICT and his mentorship, right? But he's done so much, and experience is only gained, right? And earned. I can't transfer the trust. I can't transfer my experience. The best possible thing that I can do to get as close to that as possible is by doing what we've talked about today, right? And what we've done today, what we do every single week, what I've done now literally for almost, basically 11 straight months. Like, just think about it. I've been doing this every single week since January. And the students that have applied themselves, that have constantly been learning this stuff, I mean, they're seeing positive growth, And the guarantee I always say is clarity is something you can gain from being in this community. In my private group, a little bit more so because we're there constantly every day, and obviously there's access to me all the time, and you can get your questions answered, and all the stuff that most of us wish that we would have when we're first starting, because it's so many complex things happening. So a community like this is priceless. You have all the tools that you'll ever need at your disposal. Experience is gained and earned. But again, having this type of resource, someone that's open like this and is willing to spend time with you guys in the capacity that I do, I mean, it's priceless. ICT never spent this type of time with his students. He did back when he was on Baby Pips, teaching private one-on-ones, but those people got lucky, But now this generation, right, this generation of ICT traders is also very lucky, because there's very good people out here, not to toot my own horn, but, there's good people out here that know what they're doing, that are willing to spend time with you, who really want to help, who truly prove that they know what the hell's going on, that aren't flashy lifestyle influencers. I'm probably the least flashy on the internet, right? Because, I mean, the only validation I need is from God. So I don't really, aspire to do all this lifestyle stuff. Although it's really good for marketing and maybe it would help the community grow more. Because, you know, I've done it before. I do it 3 times a year where I show like live, you know, like how much is being made. But I don't want that to ever be the focus, because you can't spend my money, you know, and I can't spend your money, you know. So it's good for motivation, for goal setting. Oh, I want to get this or I want to get that. But the ones that really do well in this industry are the ones that sit here and listen to conversations like this, that sit and actually want to know the intricate details and aren't signal junkies begging me to give them signals or trade their account. It's pretty insane how many requests I get for people asking me to trade their money. I'm not licensed, first of all, to do that. And second of all, even if I could, I wouldn't do it. You know, I want you to be able to do it, right? That's why I'm on the internet. I would be by myself, on my own, you know, just away from the internet, if I wanted to, or, you know, if I didn't want to help, you know. Join your group this week. I'll be damn right, Rodri. Hey, I'm happy to hear that, brother. We welcome you with open arms as always. Appreciate your support up to this point on YouTube. I'm glad you've been able to see the value without me having to be super flashy and whatnot. You know, maybe I'll have some students that'll be flashy, right? But I'm just not. You know, I don't know. It attracts the wrong attention, I feel like. If you're looking for volume, okay, I guess there's a strategy you can use that for. But, you know, I'm not looking for volume. I'm looking for quality. If I can get volume, great, because then I'll be able to pass this blessing along that God's been able to give me, that he's given me, that ICT was the conduit for. That's the only reason I'm on the internet. I don't care about who thinks what about me. I don't care. I don't care if people think, you know, about what I have. Like, it's kind of weird why someone would be thinking about like pocket watching. It's kind of weird because, again, it does nothing for anyone. You know, it doesn't make you a better trader. If anything, it might discourage, you know, because if we're really new and we're seeing someone pull down 5-10 grand a week, I mean, you can imagine you're not there yet. And the expectation is, okay, well, I'm learning from this guy, so that should be what I'm making every week. When that's just not the case. Because why? Because I can't transfer experience. Nobody can. You can borrow it by being on calls like this. You know, being on calls like this 6 days, 7 days a week, like in my private group, obviously has its benefits. Being able to get your questions answered obviously has its benefits. But even then, you're going to have a road to walk on your own. And I'm here to equip you, here to guide you through ICT's concepts, and, you know, never take away from obviously giving him credit, because, you know, he changed my entire life. You know, he changed my whole direction. And I mean, you could see he's changed. It's been that way for many people. You know, whether people want to like his personality or not, that shouldn't even matter. The concept is what matters, right? And again, I'm grateful to those of you that have that mindset where you're focused on the concepts, focused on trying to make your life better, and focused on the things that, you know, that really, really matter. And not, you know, on some pocket watching stuff. It's great, again, for motivation. But, you know, there's more important things, you know, like changing your family tree. You know, way more important than a Lambo. And buying your time back. That's the main thing I started trading for. I wanted to have my time back. I didn't care if I made $1 million. I didn't care if I was making 10, 20 grand a month. I didn't care if that was even ever going to be a possibility. I just wanted to be able to double my income at my job that I had at the time, and, you know, be able to have time to spend with my family, my friends, my daughter, mainly. And, you know, I'm grateful to have that option now. And some of the students here, they're also able to, or they're starting to get close to that. And you can imagine how how humbling that feels to know that you can have that type of impact to somebody. And that feeling, that type of accomplishment is what I seek when I'm on social media. And of course I only want to work with serious people, so there has to be guardrails allowing for that. But then again, I'm also on YouTube, giving stuff away that's really powerful. I have students like Tony in the chat, if he's still here. He's passing funded accounts left and right. It's not always going to be a straight road, obviously. It's going to be ups and downs. You'll have win streaks, then losing streaks, and you got to have someone there willing to be the voice of reason to you and let you know that you don't got to worry about it. It's a necessity to go into drawdown, to blow accounts, to do all this stuff so you can respect risk. So you can learn how to get yourself out of drawdown. So you can build that trust, right? Trust doesn't come from just because you want it, right? It comes from taking action. It comes from understanding and learning about certain things, spending time with certain things, doing certain skill sets. Like when you start a job, your confidence level and trust in yourself and your abilities is kind of low in terms of doing that job or that service or whatever the case may be. But that's why when you work more and you get more experience and you get better at what it is that you're doing, you start to develop trust in yourself. It's the same with trading, okay? And that's why this takes so much time. And Roger said that's true freedom. Yeah, it is. That's true freedom. And of course, the sky's not the limit with this. You can multiply everything to heights that you can't even imagine. There's no cap, okay, on what it is that you can accomplish. It could be anything you want. You want to buy a yacht? You could if you do things correctly and you learn the skill. But just because you want the yacht and just because you're trading or learning doesn't mean that you're going to get there. You have to do things correctly. You have to have the right mindset. You have to be a person with the proper discipline, respect to risk, and edge that allows you to accomplish those types of major feats. But that shouldn't be your first objective. That shouldn't be your main objective. You should have lower goals too. Knock down 20 to 30 points on a demo account first. Watch all the content that you need to watch. Build a process. Get around a community that can be supportive and help you in the right direction, who proves it like we do. Lose less, start to lose less, become break even while mastering your model in the process. Become slightly profitable, and then you're profitable. And then from profitable, after you have all this back end stuff already, with time spent on it and mastered, then you can start to think of larger feats, like quitting your job. Before you even do that, once you hit profitability, you should think, okay, let me cut my hours a little bit, right? If you do want to quit. Some people don't want to quit their jobs. There's nothing wrong with working. It's good for you. As long as you are comfortable with it. But then once you're able to, cut some hours, maybe you can end up thinking about, all right, well, let me think about doubling my income. And then once you double your income, you have the opportunity to quit if you choose to do so. Some don't. Some love their jobs. Not all jobs are shit shows, right? That people just, hate their life because they go to those jobs. Not everyone thinks that way. And there's nothing wrong with having a job. As long as you're not looking at it as your final destination, because you're built for so much more. We weren't put on this earth to live mundane lives. Just wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, do it again, for years, and then lose most of our lives. We're put here for a reason. Whatever your reason is, whatever you feel that reason is, it's not, in my opinion, attached for the most part to a 9-to-5. We all have impact that we can give to others. We all have a perspective that's unique. We all have value, even if you just started trading at your third day. You may be going through some stuff that some other person or some mentor hasn't went through and couldn't or never had to solve a problem for. You may help that mentor get better. right? And help someone just like you in the future if they come to them at a later time. So no matter what level you're at, no matter what struggles you have, no matter how much experience you have value, and that's why I always encourage you guys to ask questions. But we're all here for a reason on this earth, and we got to have freedom to be able to realize it. And trading, it's one of those things that can allow you to have that freedom, which is why I love it so much. It also makes you a better person, right? It makes you tough, and if you've had a hard life, you may have a lot of work to go through to get the right habits, but at the same time, it's something that we should all strive for and appreciate. The hard times in trading build you for the good times. You can't have good times and be effective, like an effective drawdown mitigation specialist and a profitable trader, if you can't get out of drawdown, or if you fear losing, or if you never want to take a losing trade. It's part of the game. And it's a skill set, just like anything else, right? Each element is a skill set. So you got to give it the proper time. And just like I said, to trust any of the concepts, you got to put time into them, and if you can borrow experience using a lot of the topics, right? A lot of the concepts like you get to have here and in my private group, it can only do you good, especially if someone that you're learning from is not driven by, a bunch of nonsense, renting Lambos and doing all this nonsense, You never see me like engage in any of that. Again, it's probably bad for the brand, right? It probably, won't make it as big as, most of these channels. It's unfortunate, but the value, it's bigger than most of these people that have big followings. And those of you that have been here for a while, this. And that's why you stick around. Because what I said didn't work out. If the things that I claim about like the last 11 months, we've been correct on bias and narrative, and have been able to basically get in line for the most part, like high 90% of the time, even if we're wrong initially to start the day. It kind of speaks for itself, and, you guys would call me out if I was not being truthful, and how stupid would it be for someone to come out here and just lie like every single day, claim these big things and not be able to prove it? There's a lot of those people, but they get completely smashed. Not one person comes out in the last 3.5 years that I've been teaching. Not one person has come out and said that, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's lying. Because they can't. And if they say it, just come watch my live call, simply on YouTube, and then you can see that, it is what it is. It is what I say it is. We're like Houdini out here. Not perfect, but you don't need perfection. And we're not looking to do too much. We just want 20 to 30 points, and that's all I need. If we get more, great. Today we ran 100 points, almost 100 points, 94, from a setup that we always talk about, one of the root models of my system. I talked about all these different elements, all the different ways you could have thought about getting back in. As long as it was going to keep going lower. And we can see how it's, pretty beautiful. Right? So anyone that's new here, hopefully this is assuring to you. The more that you hop on, the more you'll see that, we ain't playing games out here. And, it can only do good for you, right? And again, I assure you that clarity is something that's attained by spending time here in this group, right? And again, if there's any of you guys that need one-on-one type of style, I offer that. It's going to be closing here on the 20th in 2 days, and it's gonna be what it is, right? And we'll open back up on the next quarter. But if you're thinking about being a part of the community, the private group, on a one-on-one basis, as a tier 2 student, definitely let me know, so that I could save your spot, because everything's going to be closed for that portion of the private group, I can only handle so many people, right? I'm only one person, and I'm not looking for volume. I'm looking for quality, and I keep things reasonable so you're not, going bankrupt. It's just a way to filter people that aren't serious, because I taught for a year, hundreds of people, and I felt that it was not appreciated, and I love this industry, and I'm just not someone that'll accept that, especially if I'm pouring in 3 to 4 hours a day into somebody and then, they just become a problem, and then start, be on some nonsense. So my students told me to make the community the way it is. They set the pricing, they did everything. So it's because of them, and because of them, it's the most affordable in the industry to have someone teach you one-on-one, to be part of a group that literally proves some of the most effective trading you've probably seen on the internet. Like, again, I could say these things because I've literally been live proving it pretty much every week, taking like 6 or 7 days off from my private group and like the live calls, twice a week on YouTube, Sunday calls, and then we see it play out, right? I mean, this week is an example of Sunday's breakdown working exactly the way that we wanted it to play out. Again, I mean, it's over and over and over and over, same stuff, over and over. So yeah, it's I don't think I'll ever change the structure of the group. I may add things. I got a few different things in the works to make it even better. But the barrier for entry is going to stay reasonable. And for those that are serious, the door's open, and I'll keep it open for a pretty good amount of time, well into the future. I don't have any plans of shutting it down anytime soon. So, but yeah, the one-on-one idea or the one-on-one access is going to close enrollment on the 20th. So if you or anyone wants to join, just send me a DM, and I'll make sure that I save you a spot. Maybe you can't join today or tomorrow, or even on the 20th. But if you let me know ahead of time that you just need some time, I can save a spot for you. I only have 6 spots left. So when it closes, we'll be open again on the next quarter. Not this first quarter, we'll be open on the second quarter. This is for the first quarter enrollment, because the first quarter starts in December. So yeah. Today was pretty nice. It's, those of you in my private group, it's again one of those circumstances where, partials could have been taken and we could have wrote it down, at least down below this. But given the risk today, 94 points is pretty damn amazing if you ask me. Well above our threshold. That's like 3 days worth of profits. If we're taking 20 to 30 points per day, and that's the target, that's 3 days worth of profits. You could actually take 3 days off if you hit something like that. And you think about it this way, it's kind of the way you would like to think eventually too, or I encourage you to think that way. One reminder, I forgot to mention this the whole entire last hour and a half. But again, if you guys get value from this content, if you like what it is that I do here, it's much appreciated if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Spread the word, right? Let people know if you have traders in your family, in your friends group, if you have people online that you're cool with. Spread the word. Let's bring good people here through person-to-person marketing, right? Just word of mouth, because it makes it a more tight-knit community. You guys have people that you know and care about, so it's a tight-knit community, and it makes this a pretty solid family-style environment. And that's how I want to keep it. So this, from what I've found, obviously is the best way to do that. Is to get people that know each other to talk, and then, if they like to trade and it's something they can see themselves being a part of, they join the family, and then we just continue to grow that way. and we're literally a very tight-knit community, you know. So yeah, it's much appreciated for those of you that go ahead and do that, that have done that, that continue to do that. Like for example, Matthew, right? Matthew in the chat, right? He's a student from word of mouth. One of my friends that trades, that I started trading with, mentioned me to him, and he joined. And he, you know, he's an amazing person, and he's going to be something spectacular, you know. And he's already becoming a very solid part to the community, very communicative. He was actually a floor trader before, right? So, I mean, it's amazing what the internet can do and what we can truly build together. I mean, the sky's not the limit, you know. And again, trading has no limits, but the value in this community also has no limits, you know, especially in my private group. And it's amazing to see you guys grow. It's very humbling to see, or to have people that I help or people that I know spread the word in that way. And again, it makes a better environment. So again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and help me spread the word. Let's change lives, you know. But yeah, so we could see how the downside is still being attacked. There's nothing that has changed this per se. So we got this fair value gap in here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get price to come down into this level. That's a second standard deviation. And we have this gap in here too. So you guys remember this. So this seems to be the target here. Yeah, so that is what I'm aiming at there. It's a massive gap. So yeah, specifically here, this is what we're looking for. So inversion fair value gap, run on stops. Now that we're outside of this, let's see what we can get to take place here. Relative equal lows. We got another stop raid. I think we'll slide down here. It'll be a tiny 1 second market maker sell model. Went higher, lower, right? Targeting the gap down there. So there's the inversion delivery. Let's see what happens with this. We did leave equal highs up there, but DXY is falling, so I'm pretty confident that we're going to keep going lower. Targeting that gap. So we should see speed here. The gap's acting like a magnet. Kind of outside of a macro though, so you know it may be something that's, you know, a bit iffy. DXY is rallying. So let's see if we can't get down to that gap right there, because it's widely open right now. As long as we stay below this, we should be good. That gap is this here. Should be second stage distribution for that lower time frame potential market maker sell model. 1 minute inversion fair value gap redistribution. See what happens. Has been very, very aggressive. So kind of stalling out in here. But let's see what happens here. Let's watch how this delivers in here. If it inverts this, right, we got relative equal highs up here. Then we have these highs up here. So we'd have to keep that in mind. But again, the narrative's been bearish. It has been very quick, so you know, it's highly risky given all the different things we've talked about today. And the fact that we're already really extended, so your risk would be cut executing or trying to get involved with something that's already been tanking like this. But very obvious target potential down here. Highly inefficient. Seems like it's respecting this pretty solidly. So yeah, let's see what happens here. Got a breaker in there, little baby breaker. Do got S&T at the lows there, with the Dow creating a lower low, Nasdaq creating higher lows here. So it's digging a little deeper, right? So now this is a bit sketch. We would need to see this come down into this and turn this to, or get down below the fair value gap, tap into that, and then look to deliver lower. That's what we would like to see here if it's going to continue to drop. Check the chat real quick. Yeah, so let's see what happens. Will it give that follow through to get down to that gap? I think it's pretty likely that it should. But, you know, it's NFP week, so could see consolidation. Doesn't generally have to do anything at all, in all honesty. But we'll see. Looks like it's, at least for now, pretty much giving us that little dump off right there. Got this order block Still respecting these levels in here that we mentioned. Right, got an order block there. Relative equal lows. Then we got this gap down here that I'm very much interested in seeing potentially get targeted. I think it's reasonable. You know, with this fast movement, though, of course, encourages this type of stalled out effect. But yeah, we'll see. So that right there is pretty aggressive reach back to the buy side. So yeah, we don't want to see this high get swept out here. If this high gets taken, I mean, it looks like it's just building liquidity down there. You know, the thing that could support that is this. Narrative is bearish, right? It's still going lower, so this could just be accumulating in here. This whole consolidation could be looked at as accumulation. So if this was to be taken, if this was to be violated, this would be inverted. That would potentially send us up a little further to come and target some of this. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I'd more so like that to take place if it does want to happen when we come down and target this area down here. Not too sure what the likelihood is of them leaving this available, especially with rallying DXY. And everything else is, you know, it's still pushing lower. So yeah, just a high resistance level in here. Very, very much high resistance. So we'll see if we can't get this macro to punch us down below that. Continue with the down movement. It's a little sketch at the moment. All this is nasty. I would not want to engage something like this. Just holding like this. It should be able to have the ability to open up. Right? DXY is moving higher. At least it's giving like a little bit of a wick. So yeah, we'll see. As long as we stay below this fair value gap here, it's still in business. I think this breaker in here, this little movement right here offered something pretty nice. 70 points, massive. Oof, that was pretty insane. Let me go see what the news looks like. So there's some FOMC conversations happening. It's probably another reason why this is now stalled out. Well, no, not necessarily. Not yet, huh? It's going to come a little bit later. But yeah, we had fast, low resistance to high resistance. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Kind of just is what it is. So yeah, I think we could be able to get down there though, like I said. So we'll just keep that in mind. See if this can keep holding in here. I don't really like when it's quick in DXY, but then the Nasdaq's just like, I'll just sit this one out. Don't necessarily like when it does that. Leads to some problems. Oh, we got a nice low down there, huh? If I got real excited, we could reach all the way down there. We got relative equal lows down there. Very interesting. See if this macro can't give this to us and get us down there. Should be able to blow past this pretty nicely. It's got the failure swing, assuming it's going to keep going lower with bullish DXY. The failure swing in here should be able to have a low resistance reaction. That's a low resistance signature. And price is really having a hard time trying to get through this low level. We took stops, so work's been done. We did leave these equal highs, which, you know, we'll see if that becomes a problem or not. These highs get taken or targeted when price gets above this fair value gap, if it gets above it. Yeah, again, right now in this condition with what it looks like, I would not necessarily be too excited or enthusiastic to execute and hold on to that. But again, I don't think I'm wrong about where it's headed. So at some point, oh, there you go. Pretty nice little open right there. Yeah, now I'm pretty confident it's going to get down there. It's pretty nice. See what she does right here. Yeah, all of this should be able to act as a pretty balanced price range in there. Low, high, getting down below. Now it's rapidly turning around here. Running back up to these guys right now. So yeah, it's pretty surprising that they kind of left that open. I'm sure that everybody sees this gap down here. And we're in high resistance, obviously. But, you know, if we get back down below this, that'll probably have a nice slide down. But we're going to have to monitor this. I wouldn't be too confident, or I wouldn't be too comfortable, I guess you could say, to try to take a short in here. Or if I was in this trade, in this short, I would have already been taking most of it off, moved it into break even, moved it into profit, right? Probably would have put my stop right above this fair value gap because I wouldn't have wanted to see that traded through. And then, you know, would have closed me out there in profit if I executed right at the breaker. 40 points. If you got it a little bit higher, would have offered a little bit more. But yeah, the fast movement lower. We had this retracement. But again, if it breaks this and inverts it, we'll slide up into here and it may dig pretty deep into that. I honestly don't truly believe they're going to leave this open. We'll see. Is it going to prove me wrong? See what happens. This may be just a simple retracement. I mean, look what it reached into. We're inside the macro now too. Got this wick. Let's see how this wick is respected here. See how it treats it. Is it going to stay below the 50%? We have up candles, wick midpoint. If it's going to keep going lower, it should respect that. Yeah, we'll see what she wants to do. All right, so now it's blowing through the midpoint of that. That's very suspect. Very suspect. And again, this will be the line in the sand up here. Right? DXY is rampaging to the buy side. Very weird correlation right now. It's little to none whatsoever. But yeah, there's still that S&T at the lows down there. So yeah, it looks like we may in fact get up to these equal highs. But yeah, we'll see. Can we get above this? Very strange that they're really building the interest that they don't want to get down there. Like, oh, this is strong support. Right? They don't like to leave these wide open gaps. They act as magnets. You know, so everybody sees it though. So maybe they pull price all the way back up into here, hang around till deeper into the week with NFP. And then they try to go in, right? After they've sucked people in to think that strong support, bullishness, you know, that's always a possibility too. But we're literally inside of this range in here. So again, it's low probability. I didn't feel comfortable trying to execute something like this, personally. Obviously, it played out pretty nicely. Wow, that was pretty interesting. Look at that. So yeah, we're back below this. So again, the only way that this high, these areas up here would be targeted. You notice how I didn't say buys, right? The only way that this would be something you could be confident in is if we get up above this and invert this. Because that is this fair value gap here. It's been holding pretty nicely. We're starting to see down close candles support price, which, you know, may end up being a problem. If this stuff stays intact while we break above this high, I mean, you can now tell that, you know, we're reaching for deeper, higher prices. Otherwise, we'll keep respecting this and go lower. Simply to try to just target this down there. That's all we're looking at. Just to come back and tap into that gap. DXY rallying like this feels a normal week, healthy correlated market. It would be sliding down there like going down a freaking snow hill. Because that's rapid. Look at that. Yields rallying, bonds declining, starting to at least. So if we get down below this, we could look at this as a bearish breaker. Low, high, lower, low. The PD array that's rooted this move, simply to target down there. You can see that it's rooted in that. And again, if we lose this high, that becomes a problem. So yeah, let's see what happens. Go to the 2 minute. We got an order block. Yeah, we got an order block there too. Lots of accumulation in there. Yeah, we stuck strong to our intention to try to target the lows down here. It looks like we may end up getting that. DXY is just rampaging to the buy side. There's no follow through really in this. So again, this is how it feels to be in high resistance. You can imagine how easy it would be to get completely obliterated in this environment. Very easy to make a mistake and then go on tilt because it looks like it's gonna go, but then it doesn't. Looks like it's gonna go, but then it doesn't, right? And we're inside the macro, so if it's going to get out of it, generally it's going to use the macro to do so. Let me see, did it? So the 7 o'clock macro here, 6:50 to 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, was used to reverse. The 6:30 to that 6:50 macro was definitely used to deliver and then reverse, and then we've created this nasty delivery in there. Oh. There you go. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Right, that order block, right? We narrated this going all the way down. Fully targeted. Thing of freaking beauty. Which, just like I said, used as a breaker. Remember what we talked about over here? About the continuation? Logical target that we have outlined? Didn't break out above here, so did we go to buys? No. What do? We stuck to the short idea. Right? Breaker. YouTube model, run on stops, shift in market structure, fair value gap, inside of a fair value gap on a larger scale, delivery. And then we got down below this low here. And that was an order block, like I mentioned. It's a breaker. Order block on the upper time frame. Shift in market structure, fair value gap, displacement, logical target, macro, YouTube model. Target secure. Amazing, isn't it? Where is it at? Yeah, let me look at the chat real quick. Yeah. See, it's sad, you know what I mean? It's sad that some people don't have the patience to stick around because then they don't get to see this type of stuff. like what we just looked at. It was another opportunity, right? Not something I personally felt overwhelmingly comfortable with, but I did assume that it was going to get down there. You know, I didn't execute this, but I just narrated the whole way that you could have thought about executing it. You know, we executed up here. There was an opportunity in here. If we use that breaker targeting the low down there, it chose to wait a little longer. Doesn't matter though, because execution in here using the low, high, lower, low breaker, inversion fair value gap, to simply target the lows down here, it offered 20 to 30 points. That's all you need. This right here offered, I think, another 100 points. Close to it. 91 points. And like I said, they don't like to leave this stuff available. You see why I didn't want to buy? Why I wasn't trying to force a buy? Intuition. You know, trusting the bias and narrative. And the process that, you know, didn't allow us to look at this as a buy, which you could have, right? Run on stops, shift in market structure, somewhat of a fair value gap in there. Maybe you executed to try to target the highs up here and just took 20 to 30 points. But then, you know, took that. Because if you held it, you would have been stopped out. But if you trust the bias and the overall narrative being bearish because a higher time frame is, you can see how eventually it set us up, right? It set us up here, here, up here, numerous times over here, literally numerous times, like we talked about. I mean, there was numerous opportunities. Again, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we try to target down here. Because this is a higher time frame PD array, the gap, it may not. But, you know. We'll see what happens. That was offered. Again, I only took this one. And notice how I hit this, and now we're getting this response. Right? Higher time frame levels met. It's been bearish. We took out significant liquidity, so now we may end up getting price to turn around and maybe come and target this because we're going into the lunch hour soon. So all of this may get traded back through to be purged. Right? Could be the case if we see enough of this happen. This is now an inversion fair value gap. And if you were looking to short again, a good strategy to use, right? If you were going to short, what would turn you into interest, or turn your interest on to short again, is if we were to get back down below it and invert it, and then, you know, expect price to continue to drop a little further. That'd be the only way. At this point, we would have to be observing, all right, well, what signals are we going to see that price is going to then try to use to confirm to go higher, or for us to use to continue to see price go higher, right? Let me see the chat. Mike said amazing. Who else? But yeah, I guess with that being said, you guys, I think we'll put a ribbon on it. Pretty beautiful opportunities in here. Those are the opportunities that I mentioned, right? Framed out, didn't take. These ones more so were a little skeptical because it was already taken out so far. You know, DXY was cracking correlation and all that, but nonetheless, the models are there, right? Hopefully you could see that. You can see the breaker here too. When I went to the seconds chart, 15 second, you saw the other ones that I was showing all throughout this delivery, how to get into counter trend or continuation variations, how all the models show up numerous times in a session. Hopefully you guys take that away from this call today and obviously have, you know, got another experience of us calling the market before it happens, sticking to our bias, sticking to our narrative, identifying levels that need to get taken in order to change the narrative, you know, and if they don't get taken, how we can trust that it's going to keep going in that direction, in this case to the downside. You know, the target specifically, again, was a gap. They don't like to leave that open, which is why I didn't trust buys, given the fact that we were in a hurry to get down there. And obviously you can see why. You know, buys failed pretty much throughout the whole morning. And then, you know, they may get turned on now, you know, just to reach up into these levels. We do have relative equal highs up here from London. So who knows? Maybe we get up there, you know, if it does start to really break through and invert these types of levels. This high to that low, if it gets above it, you want to treat that as a potential breaker. And until it breaks through that and then starts to invert fair value gaps and basically creates just inversions of these PD arrays to the downside, we won't be ready to try to short again. And this is probably all it's going to do. PM session is going to come. Maybe PM session picks up again and goes lower. But we have to watch. We have these equal highs. If we break above that, you want to look at this down movement to up movement as a potential market maker buy model to get us up to the highs up here. Right? If you move up in time in the higher time frames, I mean that's going to require a decent amount of price delivery, so we may not end up getting all the way up there. But it wouldn't be unreasonable for them to try to reach into this fair value gap. Right? Does that seem unreasonable to you? Especially on this time frame. I mean, this could very easily just be the fair value gap the price needs to trade into to then continue to go lower. On this higher time frame, 1 hour chart, if it inverts this fair value gap, you are assured that we're going to get up to these relative equal highs up here. You know, that could end up being a significant session change. Okay? Because it would invert that fair value gap. Coming back into it would leave this as a balanced price range. And then if we can get an order block to form that gets violated, we would have order flow confirmed essentially. And then of course if it, you know, runs up here, sets a high in here, creates a failure swing, and then takes that failure swing high out, then we would definitely end up looking for this as a type 2 dealing range. For those of you that have been with me for a while and have been here when I talked about that idea, right? Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. But with that being said, we're already 2 hours in. We've done a lot today. Banger setup. $560 today off that initial 94-point move. Wasn't too bad, right? And yeah, I think that's enough. I think that's a good amount. So hopefully you guys had a profitable day today in either learning or demo trading, right? Quote unquote. And yeah. So for YouTube, we'll be back live again on Sunday. Those of you in my private group, I will see you guys either later today with some of you or tomorrow, right? Obviously, we're live every day, including NFP days and all these other times, whatever. Again, those of you on YouTube, I will be live with you guys again on Sunday. And I'll keep you guys updated also in the free group and in the private group about my thoughts about what I think price is going to do. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. God bless you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the support. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and spread the message, right? Share with anybody you think can benefit or bring value to this group. It means a lot. And it just, you know, does a real service for the community and, you know, for the trading community as a whole as well, because what we do here is unrivaled, and we make it happen, right? So yeah, with that being said, God bless. Let me know if you guys have any questions throughout the day, and I will see you beautiful people in my private group tomorrow, and those of you on YouTube again on Sunday. All right, take care, you guys.